We always say welcome to episode 117.
I'm going to say 16.
Okay. I'm going to say 17, and I'm going to stick to my guns. Of Eating Soup Alone. This week, Armageddon and Forrest Gump. No, Good Will Hunting.
Same, close enough.
Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week. My vote is Armageddon first.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
First thing I'm going to say off the bat, before you even get the chance to breathe, is kind of felt like I was watching a Transformer movie without the badass Transformers in it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I just mean to say that, like, yeah, okay, that's. It was just like, oh, that's what a Michael Bay film without Transformers in it is. You know,
Oh,
I was like, oh, yeah, okay,
absolutely.
yeah.
I think when it comes to Michael Bay and the Michael Bay movies I've seen, I can't remember who it is, but I for sure saw it on like a what's his name? He's a man on YouTube that does video essays about movies, and me and friend of the show Will Lorenz like him a lot. Patrick H. Willems has a great episode about Michael Bay.
Okay.
He does one about Zack Snyder too, and they're both pretty convincing about how both of these men are auteurs.
Okay.
Even if you don't like their shit, they're auteurs.
Sure.
There is a filmmaker, I can't remember her name.
Just like Rob Zombie.
But she went to film school with Michael Bay, and she expresses this sentiment as well of like, yeah, he's an auteur. He knows what he's doing, and he knows what he wants. It's stupid as fuck, and I don't think it's good, but he's a filmmaker who has a vision and, you know, sees it through to the end. And so I respect the shit out of that every time I watch a Michael Bay movie, but I do feel that sentiment at the same time. All 2.5 hours of Armageddon, I'm like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think a lot of it's really corny and pretty poorly written, and I don't like a lot of the characters, but god damn it, Chris, if I didn't cry at the end when he calls him his son, you know?
I might have been a little tuned out for that. But I'll tell you what. There's this person on YouTube. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but I think it's Yara Zaid.
Okay.
I only bring it up because I mentioned Rob Zombie. So the whole time you were talking about Michael Bay, I was listening, but I just kept thinking about, like, don't forget Rob Zombie, because I just found out that there was a long period where he, apparently, allegedly, according to this YouTube video I watched that was 55 minutes long, talking about every iteration of The Crow, had like a script that he was trying to pump, a damn Crow script.
Okay.
It was called The Crow 2037. And it was about a mother and son that get murdered. And then one of them comes back for vengeance. And the whole point of it being brought up in the story was that the first Crow sequel, City of Angels, was written by David S. Goyer or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And directed by another director who's prominent. But basically they had a bunch of ideas, very valid ideas from the information that I've been reading or I listened to, for the story and how they wanted it to be different because the first one was such a success. They were like, we don't really want to, we're not going to be able to recapture that. So let's just, and one of them being like, what about a lady crow? And so, obviously, the Weinstein shut that down. And so the whole point of bringing up the Rob Zombie thing was the Rob Zombie part was just to be like, this YouTuber was just laying out this is such an unfathomable idea for some reason for Hollywood at the time that even Rob Zombie in that scenario where a mother and an 8-year-old son get murdered, it's the 8-year-old son that comes back for vengeance.
Yeah. In
the body of a 30-year-old to get vengeance for his mother, kind of a thing. But you know what else is interesting? There was another one. I can't remember who was going to do this one, but I just watched Prey. Did you see Prey?
The Predator movie?
Yeah.
I have not, but I've seen bits and pieces.
I liked Prey a lot, and one of the reasons why I liked Prey is because I feel like the original Predator film, I like. It's one of those movies kind of like The Goonies that I feel like I admittedly probably was a little too harsh on in the podcast, but I like the first Predator. But the backbone of it is spoofing the over-the-top action stars of the 80s, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like one of the reasons why, like, you know, there hasn't been that much success really with like a Predator reboot and stuff is because like they haven't figured out their thing.
Yeah.
In a sense, like they don't have that thing, you know. The first sequel, The Concrete Jungle, I like that one. It's got Danny Glover in it.
Yeah.
It's set in New York, and the whole thing is Danny Glover being like, we got a fucking serial killer that is skinning people alive. And then later on you find out that it's an alien skinning people alive.
Yeah.
It's fun. But the cool thing about Prey, in my opinion, is like it's just fun to dial back the clock.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing else really for me to say. Like, for it to be, you know, Native Americans with, you know, that at the time kind of like limited technology at their disposal versus like this horrible monster with lasers and stuff. Super tense. It was great.
The only thing I've really seen from that movie is when he fights the bear.
Yeah.
He's invisible.
Yeah. And then it gets bloody rained on.
It makes my smooth brain go, ooh, that's so cool.
Absolutely. Have you seen the whole?
No, I think I've seen
starts
like 10
with
seconds.
So she's up on a cliff with her like little dog companion. I think she's got a dog, and she goes to shoot the bear, and I think she like misses or something, and then she goes to rifle another one off, and the fucking bow it snaps like the string part. Mm-hmm. So the bear distracts the bear for the dog distracts the bear for a minute, and she like tries to fix it. I don't think she can fix it, so the bear starts coming back, and she runs and she hides in that log, and then the bear's like, but you know, and then the Baba Yaga monster fucking whatever. But anyways, pretty good. Anyways, so what I'm saying is to make this make sense, let's go back to The Crow. Apparently the original, like the first sequel comic book style, from what I understand, to The Crow was actually like a very similar thing, like The Crow, but set in like colonial cowboy-ish times, and it was
I love that.
It was a Native American who had been brought back to avenge him and his family being murdered by like settlers or something.
I love
like that.
that. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Super sick, because I feel like the face paint even works, and the idea of like the Crow bringing you back seems to be, this might be a little offensive, but it's like in line with like the spirit of the eagle type Native American. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to touch it, but also I gotta, you know what I'm saying?
If we're talking the 90s, it tracks.
It tracks. It all tracks. But that sounds dope. And having just seen Prey, like when I was watching that YouTube video last night, I was like, that's the sequel I want. Like, that's a law being broken for sure.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so but what I was trying to say is like, you know, like you just before we began recording, we were talking about the games industry, and you know, one of the examples that I brought up was all the horror movies that are being turned into asymmetric horror films, and you know, like one of the things that I see people talk about often is like, why not like a single player experience, like something like Resident Evil or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so all I'm trying to say is that like, you know, like why, you know, why people like the Weinstein's gotta be like, nope, make the same exact movie again, please.
Yeah.
Set the Crow in the fucking 1700s.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, and then they made a Crow movie. I don't know if you know this or not, but it only made like $4 million in its opening weekend.
Have you seen all the shit that the director of the original Crow was tweeting about it?
Absolutely.
So funny. I thought it was just a money grab, but there seems to be no money to grab. That's absolutely. Such a sick burn.
It's crazy good. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
To bring it back to what you were saying about Predator for a second, this is a different tangent, but I was thinking about it earlier today. Yeah, when it comes to like that first Predator movie, and like, you did say you like the second one, so this doesn't really apply to that. But I'd say the next 20 Predator movies, you know, before Prey, thinking about like, oh yeah, no, those movies just don't really work. Yeah. I was thinking about that with Star Wars, because back to the games industry, there's a new Star Wars game out called Outlaws, where you play like a pluckish rogue, a Han Solo type. Yeah. And people are like complaining about this and that, and like just thinking about people complaining about Star Wars in general, or in a movie when you have a character that's the lovable rogue, that's the Han Solo type. Yeah. It never really works. And I feel like, you know what really, really works about Han Solo? Is that he's goddamn Harrison Ford. Yeah. And it's just stuff like that, where like with the first Predator, where it's like, it's aping off of all those action movies and turning it into kind of a horror movie, and like how those two things work.
But you know what's really got going for it?
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Urban. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's also an Indiana
Same thing with the
Jones
second one. I mean, if Danny Glover wasn't in it, I don't know if I'd like it that much.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also another sentiment I'm pretty sure I'm stealing from Patrick H. Willems, but when, you know how people talk about it, there's no like movie stars anymore. Like Tom Cruise is an oddity because he's still around here doing the damn thing. Yeah. And I think what it is that it used to be very much so like with a Harrison Ford or a Tom Hanks or a Tom Cruise, there was that year where Tom Hanks was in like 9 Best Picture nominees, like
Yeah.
in like 1 year,
Yeah.
and that leads to a thing where like
Continue.
audiences they would see Tom Hanks is in a movie and go, oh, I know Tom Hanks, I like Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks is in good stuff because Tom Hanks picks good stuff to be in.
I should probably close that window because of all the child screams.
Yeah,
right?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if this does anything. But the Tom Hanks name was like a stamp of quality.
Exactly, and so
Yeah.
is Harrison Ford and
Right.
Tom Cruise and...
But now, like, yeah, that is an interesting thing. Like, I'm thinking about now, like, how, like, you see something like The Rock or, like, Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
You see that name on that poster, and you're immediately like, oh, that's going to be a piece of fucking dog shit.
Exactly. Or, like, I like... I'm not caught up on all the controversies, but I like Chris Pratt. But also, I always think about that, like, straight-to-Amazon movie, sci-fi movie he was in.
Which one?
I don't even know what it's called.
Moonfall?
Sure. Just shit like that.
Oh,
Holy
that was a
crap.
hot rod.
That was a real hot rod.
Anyways, it's a cool car.
Where it's just like actors, like, I can't blame them, but it's just like, oh yeah, Amazon's going to pay me $40 million to be in this movie?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely, I'll be in it. And it's just like, yeah, it's just, you need stuff, like, I think we got to start getting better actors who have more pride in their work.
Yeah, I feel like there's a kind of a quality control problem right now, maybe even. Because, like, the Borderlands thing just happened.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
And it's just like, I feel like so many studios are just like, we get a recognizable IP and a couple of big names, and there's no way we're going to lose. And it's like, no, you still have to make a really good movie. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
You can't skip that part. You just can't. You
Yeah.
know? Like,
yeah, and with all that, and like no such thing as a bankable star anymore,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, that's I keep bringing it back to him, but it's because he's the goddamn man. There are so many Indiana Jones type characters and so many Han Solo type
Yeah.
characters because people just like Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is,
Yeah.
baby. Anyway, we watched Armageddon.
we did. And speaking of stars, this thing has damn Bruce Willis in it, Billy Bob Thornton in it, Liv Tyler in it, Ben Affleck in it, Will Patton in it,
Uh-huh.
Keith David in it,
Uh-huh.
Steve Buscemi in it, someone named Peter Stormare.
You don't know Peter Stormare?
Nope.
Oh, Peter Stormare's the homie. He's I believe he's in the John Wick movies. He's
I've only seen the first one.
I want to say he's the guy with Steve Buscemi in Fargo, the blonde guy.
Okay.
And he's the guy from, you remember that game Until Dawn?
Yeah.
He's the therapist in that, which is
Okay.
fun. And he's also arguably, in my opinion, the best part of this movie.
Okay.
Also, jump scare Owen Wilson is in this movie.
Oh, Wilson's in it.
Armageddon, directed by Michael Bay.
Eddie
Screenplay.
Griffin is in it.
Eddie Griffin's in it. Screenplay by Jonathan Hensleigh
Halliburton. Oh, sorry.
and J.J. Abrams, which is strange.
Yeah, for sure.
Box office, nope. Budget of $140 million. Box office of, are you looking at it?
No.
How much?
600 million?
Ooh, so close, 550.
Okay. I don't recognize any other names.
And so I don't know really if I like Armageddon.
No, I don't like it at all.
I wouldn't go that far,
Yeah.
but I liked moments of it, and I really didn't like other moments of it. But like I said, by the end of it, god damn it, if I wasn't tearing up a little bit. I texted you right before I started it.
Yeah.
I said, maybe judging too soon. Haven't watched it yet, but cannot fathom a reason why this movie is 2.5 hours long.
Do you feel like it was justified by the time you finished?
Well, yeah, you got to get all the animal cracker stuff in there.
I don't even remember what you're talking about.
When Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler are laying down by the BMW,
right.
and they just do basically a BMW commercial and then feed each other animal crackers.
Yeah, what does he say about it, though?
I don't even fucking know.
He says some really, really, really corny, cringy shit.
Yeah, and like every scene in this movie feels like a montage. Like nothing, no scene ever. It doesn't feel like any scene starts or really ends. It just snaps to the next one.
Yeah.
And I feel like character-wise, everybody in this is really all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, is
Steve
Bruce...
Buscemi's character was really uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, he immediately was like, yeah, I fucked a kid. And it's like, what, dude? Out of the gate with this?
Yeah, and then they keep going back to that well for laughs.
Yeah.
Like, a lot.
And they call him...
Like, he's the one who, like, taught her how to use a tampon?
Yeah.
And, like, a bunch of shit like that. Like, they just keep using the Steve Buscemi's the hugest perverse joke, and it's...
And, oh, my God, what's his name? What do they call him?
Handsy? I don't know.
Rockhound. They call him a hound because he's horny. They say that.
Yeah.
And... like the biggest like whiplash I was getting throughout this whole movie is Bruce Willis stoic or is he not? You can't have both.
He's like stoic or is he unhinged?
He's a gruff man's man, but also at the same time he's like, you fucking lily picking NASA dweebs, you don't know a goddamn thing about drilling. But also he's just like, sir, I've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah. Even I don't know. It's like, dude, pick a fucking lane. Oh my God. But
he's got a smoke show for a daughter.
Got a smoke show for a daughter. We fucked up. We should have had Aerosmith Superfan Cat on this episode because there's 9 Aerosmith songs to play in this movie over and over and over again. That
crazy needle drops in this thing for sure.
That Aerosmith song, the "Don't Want to Close My Eyes, Don't Want to Miss a Thing." They wrote it for this movie. Isn't that insane?
It's crazy.
That's crazy. And yeah, I don't know. It was just this movie's just like. Moves at a breakneck speed, but also wastes so much time.
Yeah.
And I just really can't wrap my head around it, but also, I think this is a good movie. Like, again, with the Michael Bay thing, I think Michael Bay knows what he wants, and I don't think this movie is anything other than what Michael Bay wanted.
Yeah.
And I think it's competent, and I think it looks really good. I mean, I think it looks good, flatline good.
Yeah.
But like, I also love that it just starts immediately with asteroids hitting Earth.
Yeah.
You don't see the oil drillers and start to learn about it's just like boom, immediately fucking dinosaurs are wiped out and then New York City.
Yeah.
I like that, like really get the ball moving on a disaster movie like this, but then when they go to space, I paused it and I was like, how the fuck is there an hour and a half left in this movie and they're just now going to space?
Yeah.
So much happens in space, but I also felt way too much was happening on Earth.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you talk now. I've been going on for way too long.
No, that's all right. Yeah, my thing mainly just being like, I feel like there'd probably be like a really thrilling 90-minute movie in there somewhere, or even 2 hours. Even just like there's a half hour. There's definitely a half hour you can lop out of there.
Absolutely. As much as I love Peter Stormare, we probably could have cut out all the space station stuff.
But great example. Even just being like the animal cracker scene. It's like in this setting, as long as Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler have like chemistry, I don't really need to see them do much together.
And they don't.
But they do also.
They have no
sometimes.
chemistry.
Oh, no, I meant like in terms of like what we see them doing together. Like I don't know that we needed that much. So anyways. But you're right. You get an oil rig and then he's got a smoke show daughter that lives on the oil rig too.
She works for him.
Yeah. How old is she?
Like character?
Yeah.
I don't know, 25.
Yeah.
Oh, she's Ben Affleck's age, I'm going to guess.
Yeah. How old's Ben Affleck?
25. I don't know.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, they'd like been dating somehow secretly for months, like 6 months on the oil rig. Dad finds out. Dad tries to shoot him with a shotgun.
Which is funny?
Many times.
Is it?
No. And so, okay, the main thing going on is, as you mentioned, meteor shower, but also big meteor the size of Texas coming.
Yes.
Total annihilation.
I love when they bring up that it's the size of Texas, and they're like, well, what about the ones that just hit? And Billy Bob Thornton goes, those were the size of, basketballs, minivans, that kind of thing. I'm like, those are 2 very different size things, man. What are you talking about?
Here's what I'm curious about. So it's the size of Texas, and the plan is to drill into it so that they could put a bomb in it, right?
Mm-hmm. 2 bombs.
Yes. How is that different than when someone suggests, why don't we just shoot it with bombs?
One of them makes a great analogy, one of the science nerds.
Okay.
You have a firecracker.
Yeah.
Put it in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Light it off. You burn the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Take a firecracker, light it off, close your fist. Yeah. You lose all your fingers.
Okay.
So it's like that.
How deep can an oil drill?
At least 800 feet, because that's how far they were going here.
But what I'm saying to you is, if it's the size of Texas, 800 feet or the surface is not that different.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. How far can an oil drill?
Not to poke a hole in Michael Bay's 1998 film Armageddon.
Well, yeah,
it doesn't need to be. I'm not. This is not like a hill I'm dying on. I'm just genuinely curious.
There's the classic Ben
what the
Affleck
difference is.
commentary
Yeah.
thing where he's talking about, like, yeah, it would be way easier to train astronauts how to drill.
Yeah, because they do that a lot. They try to like build up Bruce Willis as like a genius oil driller. Like nobody's ever done it better. And I'm really, 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 really not trying to like dunk on oil drillers, but you know,
I feel like
it's definitely a skill. I'm just saying, like, you know,
absolutely, but yeah, it's definitely a skill. But I don't understand how.
he's the best.
I understand how
Like
he's
that much better that he has to be like specifically the guy.
I can buy him being the guy that has to go. I
I don't know if
cannot.
I can.
I cannot buy the crew having to come.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Because what I'm saying is like, excuse me. To me, again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's just like, it basically is like NASA being like, we got to get the best goddamn carpenter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's just
great
like,
point.
yes, I get it. It's for sure a skill. It's super impressive. But like, do you really got to get the best?
Well, you'd want to.
But
You
how do
only
you
got
even
18 days.
determine that?
Uh,
Like, it's just such a silly
you
thing.
just go
to
out.
me.
You just go on the forums online.
Yeah. So,
An oil driller can drill up to about 2 feet deep.
Well, that's not
Doesn't
enough.
seem like a
No.
lot, and that's 10,000 feet, not 800. But also, I'm reading it off of this first Google thing I'm seeing. So, oh no, it's not even the AI overview. So,
Whatever.
okay, well, this one's saying some wells go as deep as 30,000 feet.
Okay. It's like it's how high as a plane goes up into the air.
Yeah. Anyway,
Not important. All I'm trying to say is, me personally, Big Trouble in Little China, awesome. Kurt Russell, just a truck driver, awesome.
Mhm.
For my taste, they don't make an oil driller like cool enough.
yeah, that's a great point. Show, you know that video that always goes around on Twitter of those dudes just covered in muck, just
Yeah.
like fucking slapping those
Yeah.
things? And show me that in this
Honestly,
movie, man. I don't see anyone drilling for oil for a second in this movie.
Joe Dirt made me want to be an oil driller more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way more.
And like it's so the whole thing of this movie is
It's just not as cool. It needs to be cooler. in my
yeah,
opinion.
but
anyways.
like this whole movie is just saying like, hey, these roughneck guys, these oil drillers, are so goddamn cool compared to these nerd ass NASA nerds. But like the movie, it's just blue collar guys are the best, which I
Yeah.
got no problem with. I
No,
like
for sure.
blue collar guys.
Yeah.
To paraphrase Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting, it's honorable. I'm
Yeah.
totally about it.
Yeah.
But this movie doesn't do anything to make me like these guys, really. I like when they all sing with him when he's singing to his girl before he leaves.
Yeah.
I like that
That's
a little
fun.
bit.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it, it's just like, yeah, this guy had sex with a minor, admittedly. And then this guy is a gambling addict who's not allowed to see his son anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't really like any of them. And it's so, remember at the end where they win and they save everybody, spoilers, by blowing up the rock?
Yeah.
And then it shows everyone on Earth celebrating, and it's people from the 50s? It's like a bunch of kids running around in boxcars with like
Yeah.
striped shirts tucked into cuffed jeans with Converse on.
Yeah.
And it's so like, I want to say egregious, but also at the same time, it's like, no, that's what this whole movie has been the entire time. It's just like, fucking hell yeah, America, man. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
middle America. And it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, awesome, but also make me like middle America a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah. I hear you. And I don't want to harp on it again, but the analogy, blow the fingers off. Don't you still have a bunch of rocks that are going to, minivan-sized rocks that are going to pelt?
Oh, yeah, I think for sure, yeah.
Huh.
But also, that's already been happening, you know?
Yeah. Anyways. So, yeah.
Yeah, they fuck around for a while.
They fuck around for a lot.
They
of
fuck around
time.
for a real long time. They get interviewed in a foam room, and then they dance around in nightgowns and stuff like that because the nurse is going to put something in their butt, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, we got demands. We don't want to pay taxes ever again. I like that. That's pretty sick. I do like the line from Bruce Willis when he gets them all together for the first time and they're he sits them down in the room and he goes, we've been asked by the United States government to save the world. Does anybody want to say no? And I like that basically all of them are just like, fuck man, this is pretty sick. Yeah, I would like to go do this.
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis secretly watches his daughter and Ben Affleck and Mac on each other for a while, which is strange. Also, fun fact, remind me about the fun Ben Affleck fact. I'll bring it up in Good Will Hunting. I feel like it's a better place there. He asks her to marry him. Bruce Willis doesn't like it, yada, yada. Ben Affleck's also a hothead who's always like, trust me, man, trust me, I got it. I know what I'm doing. And then he's like, hey, NASA doesn't like that. Stop doing it. And then the boys go to the mall, basically, before fucking going out onto space. And then they go to space, and we have a majority of the movie left. They meet Peter Stormare up in space. He's great. Love him. And then they go to the asteroid. They go to the asteroid by... Also, the sense of time in this movie is just so fucked.
Yeah.
You know how long it takes them to get to the space station to the moon? 60 hours.
Okay.
Crazy. But they also make it feel like we're 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Space station blows up, yada yada. Shit's just going haywire. They slingshot 2 spaceships around the moon, which is pretty cool, to follow the asteroid. And then, there is a debris field, and they get caught up in the debris field, and one of them crashes, and they're like, they're all dead. And then the main ship gets onto the asteroid, and they're drilling, and they're drilling, and they're drilling, and it's not going fast enough, and the president's like, fuck it, blow up the nuke.
Yeah.
And Keith David's like, I gotta blow up this nuke, and Billy Bob Thornton's like, don't blow up the nuke. And he's like, we're blowing up the nuke. And then Billy Bob Thornton's like, hey guys, fucking turn off the nuke, can ya? And they turn off the nuke, and Keith David's like, hey, you turn that back on. And then one of the astronauts who's up on the asteroid is just like, okay, cool, I got my space gun. I'm going to shoot anyone who tries to turn this nuke off. And then for what is the first of, I think, 9 times in this movie, a ticking clock counts down to 1, and then they stop it.
Yeah.
And because he promises, like, hey, on your kid's life, I'll put this bomb in this rock, I swear to you. And so they start drilling again, and then Ben Affleck's like, oh, I'm alive, Peter Stormare, come with me. And then they go, and then for some reason, their spacecraft that drills has a machine gun on the front of it. And so they blast out of their ship out of that, and then they're just driving, trying to find the other fucking driller. They're drilling at the first driller, and then they're like, gas pocket, and they shoot the big guy out into space. He's dead. They're like, oh, fuck, we're fucked. And Billy Bob Thornton goes, well, okay, I guess we can blow up the nuke now. And Liv Tyler, who is there for some reason, shouldn't be in the control room, is now, at this point in the movie, an hour and a half in, is a Southern belle. She has a Southern accent now, and I don't know why. She's like, that's my daddy up there. You told me you weren't going to blow him up, and now you're blowing up my daddy. So they don't blow him up. Ben Affleck comes, yay, I'm going to save the day. You got to trust me, I'm a hothead. And he's like, I'm going to trust you. And he drills down, like, yay, we got it. And they throw the bomb in there. And they're like, fuck, the remote detonator doesn't work. We have to draw straws. And someone pulls straws out of somewhere. I don't know why they brought straws onto space with them, but they did. They draw straws. Ben Affleck gets a short straw, so he's like, cool, I'm going to go down.
What are you doing? Packing straws? What? In case we got to draw straws.
You never know what goes on up there. I do like that scene where one of them goes, I think it's Bruce Willis at first, goes, all right, I'll go down there. And then another one goes, no, fuck you, I'll go down there. Then Peter Stormare goes, no. I will not return to my country as the one who did not offer to go down there. And I love that they're all fighting about going down there. And then they draw straws. And it's Ben Affleck has to go. And Bruce Willis is like, I'll walk you to your car. And you're like, oh, okay, he's going to do the old switcheroo and pull it in. And that's what he does. He does the old switcheroo. And then this is where I cried in this movie. He pulls the old switcheroo and he goes, hey, I'm so happy that you're marrying my daughter. And I'm like, don't do this. And he's just like, oh, fucking fuck you, man. You got to let me out there. And he's like, take care of my daughter. I've always thought of you as a son. And I was like, oh, no, don't do this. And he's like, I love you, Bruce Willis. I was like, guys, you have to stop. And they go back up and he goes, I love you too. I'm like, oh, no. And then he like calls his daughter. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit too much. You guys are talking. It's taking way too long for Bruce Willis to die.
Yeah.
And then they fly away. Bruce Willis blows up the rock, and then it splits into 2 pieces, and everyone goes, yay! And then they get back to the land, and everyone's like, yay! And then Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck get buried, and they go, yay! And then the movie's over.
Did you know, I didn't know this about John Cassavetes, but he got preferred to shoot his movies in sequential order,
I love that shit.
even if it was impractical or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just love that.
It's so good. Yeah, because I was watching Peter Falk and Gina Rollins talk about one scene in particular where, like, Peter Falk was just like, 100 years from now, that's going to be an effective scene. Like, you did such an amazing job. He's like, where did you pull that from? Kind of thing. And she was saying, basically, she was like, well, John always shot, like, in order. So by the time we got there, like, I didn't need to pull it from anywhere. Like, we were there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was there.
Yeah.
Like, we had built up to that. He's like, she was like, like a lot of other movies, like, you have to shoot things out of order to make, for the sake of, like, money and stuff. And so, like, it can be hard because you might start with that scene. And then that's a really hard thing to pull out.
Yeah.
But when you're there, because you spent that time to get there, like, it doesn't take anything at all.
Like, I feel like not practically, not in a way that I could do it, but I feel like I understand acting and how it works. But when I hear stuff like that, like an actor talking about, like, oh yeah, that, like, emotional scene, that's like the last scene of the movie, that's like the second thing we shot. So I really had to pull that out of nowhere. Yeah. And when I hear that, I'm like, you're a psychopath.
Absolutely.
It's insane that you can just do that. You're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, Armageddon, I would say, at the end of the day, I love how practical everything looks. I love how 90s it is.
Yeah.
I love all the sets. I think every actor in it is doing their best, even though they're not given the best. I think Michael Bay's editing is a little too fast for me. I think this movie's a little bit long. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give this movie a B-.
At the end of the day, I'm going to give it a C.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Wonderful. Well, there's another movie we watched this week. Good Will Hunting.
We sure did.
Have you seen it before?
I have not.
This is your first watch?
Yeah, it's my first time seeing Good Will Hunting. It's one of those movies that's like I feel like in a similar category to Fight Club.
Okay.
It's one of those movies where, like, everybody who likes movies, that's like one of the first movies they see. They go, oh, fuck, movies are so cool. Yeah. And because of that, it's just had a stink on it for me where I'm like, I don't know if I really need to see Good Will Hunting. And on my first watch, I think, it's a little wordy. Yeah. There's a lot of monologues in it. Yeah. It is kind of strange that I think you never see him read a book. It definitely does feel like it's written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Yeah. In good and bad ways. Yeah. And there's a lot about this movie that I don't love. Yeah. But god damn it, Chris. Yeah. I'm sorry, I gotta go see About a Girl. I love this movie. This movie's hot take, Chris. I think Good Will Hunting is so good. I like this movie so much.
I agree with you. I definitely think there's some flaws. We can get into it a little bit, but one of the biggest ones being there is a huge disconnect between who Will Hunting is and who he, air quotes, is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like
huge disconnect.
Him being so unbelievably smart.
Yeah, I feel like they could have toned it down a bit.
And like the whole and
found a way to make it work.
Mozart can see a piano and just make that happen. I can see textbook and I can just make that happen. That's less believable to me than sending oil drillers up into space.
Yeah, yeah, because everything else still works. I just feel like it would even have more emotional punch, honestly, if he was a kid showing signs of being gifted and there was a professor sticking his neck out for him. But I guess at the same time I say that, the fact that the guy's doing it for selfish reasons makes him kind of like the antagonist. Mm-hmm. To like, But yeah, I think there's a way to do it where what I'm saying is true, that like that guy's still sticking his neck out, but like it's not as... Yeah, there was a level of like genius to Good Will Hunting. But ultimately at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's like, I watch movies about supermen. You know what I'm saying? So like, whatever. His superpowers, he's smart as shit.
Exactly.
Who gives a fuck? Whatever.
Exactly. That's just like Armageddon, where it's just like, they're selling oil drillers up in space. Fucking go. We're just going. Yeah. This movie's just like, hey, what if some punk kid from Boston was wicked smart? Just fucking go. It's like, all right, great. Yeah, I'm in.
I gotta say, the accents get grating.
Oh, I love him the whole movie.
Do you?
It's them and his girlfriend. It's just, I don't know which way is up. I love it. It's great. I love, like, I don't know, I hadn't really thought about it, but for sure that's why this scene is in this movie. I love when they see that guy at the baseball game and then they're driving home and they see him again and they go, let's just go kick his ass. Yeah, he's done nothing to us today. Let's just go kick this guy's ass. I love it. And I love when Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck's in the back of the car. He's like, oh, what are you talking about? We just saw him at the game. We could have beat him up then. We got snacks now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many scenes in this movie like that where it's just the dudes from Boston hanging out, and it does nothing to the movie other than color them in a little bit.
Yeah.
Even when I think it doesn't need it. But I like when they're like, stop jerking off at my mom's house. Just shit like that. I just love it. Just all over the movie.
Yeah, they like stop what they're doing to be like, hey, are you watching porn upstairs at my mom's?
You got a VCR anywhere else in the house? That's so good.
In my mom's room, right? Yeah. He was like humping a glove or something, a baseball glove.
Oh, yeah. No, I used to, to clean up. But, like not even to mention, every time Robin Williams opens his mouth in this movie, I cry a little.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God,
the Robin Williams Good Will Hunting stuff is like just the fucking.
Oh, he just goes crazy.
Squeezes
your
little heart. Yeah. Like that whole bench scene where he's like, he's like, I went home last night and I was thinking about what you said about my painting. He's like, and then I had an epiphany. I realized something about you, Will. You're just a punk kid. He's like, you might know all about Michelangelo, his sexual orientation, his political linings, everything he did with his life, but he's like, you don't know what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel.
Exactly.
You know, he's like, you might have gotten laid a couple of times, but you don't know what love is. He's like, you don't know what it feels like to wake up next to a woman and feel truly happy.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I love what he says specifically is like, I had a thought last night. I was thinking about what you said about me and my painting, and it kept me up half the night. And then I thought something, and I realized something, and I haven't thought about you since.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's so cutting. That's so good.
Yeah.
But that's like one of those moments where it's just like, I haven't thought about you since. It's like, okay, well, you have a monologue about him, so obviously you have.
Yeah.
And this whole movie is just monologues. But I don't care.
Yeah.
It works. It's good.
Yeah.
And I very specifically love for arguably how little he is in this movie. I love Ben Affleck in this.
Yeah.
I will, until the day I die, until it comes out, I feel like eventually something's probably going to come out that Ben Affleck's a bad guy. But until that bomb drops, I'm a big Ben Affleck stan. I think he gets a lot of hate because that's just his essence.
Yeah.
He's just a guy that you hate. If I knew Ben Affleck in real life, if he was a guy I went to school with, I hate his fucking guts.
Yeah.
He just has that aura about him, you know? But there's just something about him in this movie that is just so tangible and relatable, and like that's his whole scene at the end with Will. He grounds him. I love the whole like, fuck, I'd break your fucking knees if you were coming over to my house watching Patriots with your kid. Like, just the happiest I am every day is that 10 seconds I walk up to your house just hoping you're not going to be there. Oh, it's so good. And I love that that's what he needs at the end, is for another guy from Southie to be like, are you out of your fucking mind, man? I would kill to have what you have. Anyway, but I think one of the things that makes him so relatable, I think if you were going to watch Armageddon and Good Will Hunting, you watch Armageddon first and then you watch Good Will Hunting. Because, fun fact about Armageddon, they started shooting Armageddon and Michael Bay went, Ben Affleck, I don't like your teeth. We have to put new teeth on you.
Whoa.
So that's when Ben Affleck got the veneers.
No
he
way.
looks different in Good Will Hunting.
That's
He looks
crazy.
way more like a normal guy in Good Will Hunting because
That's
he's got fucked up
crazy.
teeth, and I think it does such a good job at making him more relatable
That's
to me.
crazy.
So watch them back to back in one night like I did.
Wow. You ever seen that picture of him and Matt Damon calling their moms on cell phones outside of the Oscars when they won or whatever?
Yeah. It's so cute.
I've also seen an interview. I can't remember if it was Matt or Ben talking about how like they got that Good Will Hunting check and how it was like for basically enough that like they were like before they even got a house they just like bought a brand new like Range Rovers or something.
Love that. I love that for them. Yeah. I've also heard because it was a jump scare because I forgot about it, but produced by Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so strange to see
Yeah.
their name here, but I remember hearing Kevin Smith somewhere. He's Kevin Smith, so he has 7 stories, so I'm sure he said this a million times. No disrespect to the man, love him, friend of the show.
Yeah.
But like, the rumor that like he helped them write, Good Will Hunting. I love him being like, fuck no, dude. I wish I wrote something anywhere near as good as Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. That's funny. But and then obviously, Bob and Harvey Weinstein.
Don't know nothing about Bob, but Harvey Weinstein, yikes.
You know what else is crazy about The Crow?
Yeah,
From this video that I watched, I probably mentioned that before we started recording, so this is coming out of nowhere kind of, or did I talk about that on the podcast? Who knows? Can't even remember. But they were talking about how after Brandon Lee died on set, I think Paramount had the rights to it, and they basically just like they dropped it basically.
Oh.
And the plan was to kind of like out of like just they were like, oh, this is like, what do we do kind of a thing, like. out of like trying to be sensitive and not like just they were like let's shelve this and maybe just like
Yeah.
like,
Also, to be kind of jaded about it, it's probably I could see Paramount being like, that guy stank on it. We don't want to release this movie. Yeah.
But it was Miramax that swooped in at the last minute, picked it up, and basically used like a body double and like special effects to like finish the last couple scenes that need to be
Did
finished.
they use
Forever.
a brother at some point?
Something I don't remember what it was,
brother.
but basically, like there's this one point in the video where they have like I'm sometimes split on Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert,
Oh yeah, same.
But he did have a nice little thing where he was like, for the sake of Brandon Lee and Brandon Lee's legacy and like just the palpable labor when you watch this film of everybody involved, he was just like, I am glad that this did not get shelved.
Yeah, that's really
you know?
Yeah, you're right. Roger Ebert will say some stuff about a movie that I'm
Yeah.
like, that's so well put and
Yeah.
like so simply put and really
Yeah.
beautiful and like good on you, Roger Ebert. At other times I hear him say shit, I'm like, you're the dumbest man who ever lived.
Yeah, but again, it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, like that is Brandon Lee's legacy. Like he would have nothing if Paramount shelved that.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
world would
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
worse place without The Crow if they would have shelved that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Like, and that's something that like she talks about in the video essay a little bit. She talks about how like, you know, it may not have made money, and the critics were pretty split on it, but the impact it's had over the last 30 years is like undeniable.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And like how important it was to like that generation and like people and young people's identity and stuff, and just what it's done, you know, post release, you know, and yeah, it's very, very interesting. Mainly because that man is dead and he just has no idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Like, it's like a James Dean story where like, you know, my guy was in like 4 movies, literally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just like died at like 21 in like a fucking blaze of glory in his
Was he
hot
that
rod.
young?
Look up how old he was.
Okay.
He was like maybe like 23. Look up how old he was. I want to say he was like 23. I don't think he hit 30. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's 24.
24. Okay.
Crazy.
But yeah, so basically, yeah, literally was in like 4 or 5 movies, like East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, others.
It's 50 stuff, yeah. Gumbo Shake Shack or whatever.
Yeah, Gumbo Shake Shack. But anyways, all I'm trying to say is like, yeah, it's one of those stories where like, you know,
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah,
I like that quite a bit.
yeah, James Dean has no idea that he was James Dean.
Yeah.
He was just a guy who got a couple of roles when he died. You know?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Same thing with Brandon Lee. The biggest thing he's probably in was that goddamn laser mission movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, apparently they didn't even necessarily want him. James O'Barr, the guy who wrote The Crow, had Johnny Depp, Christian Slater, and River Phoenix in mind. Couldn't get any of them. Motherfucking Brandon Lee auditioned. They liked his aura or whatever, but basically he ended up becoming friends with James O'Barr, you know.
That's how you do it.
And but yeah, James O'Barr even like mentioned in like, because they've been trying to make this Crow movie since like 2009, I think, and I think it had the most traction in like 2014. And there's like a post he made about like basically being like, you know, in my comic, Eric and Shelley's last name is never mentioned. Eric Draven is like that iteration or whatever, and he was just saying like, he was like, Brandon Lee will always be Eric Draven. He's like, so my only hope for whatever adaptation comes along is that they don't make him explicitly Eric Draven, because that would be disrespectful to the legacy, because that is always Brandon Lee.
And did they?
I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, off The Crow, because that's not the movie we watched. We should do it for the podcast sometime, though. You know?
We should watch the new one,
Ooh.
starring Bill Skarsgård. You know who Bill Skarsgård's dad is? Stellan Skarsgård,
Who was in
Good Will Hunting, which is also directed by Gus Van Sant, written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Do you know who else is in this movie and blew my mind?
Ooh.
Motherfucking Harmony Korine.
Oh yeah, where's he at?
He is the like kooky guy in the jail that walks past.
Oh,
and,
that's
yeah.
that's fun.
Immediately I was like, what the fuck is Harmony Korine doing in this movie? And I like looked at the cast. He's not listed, so I like just Googled like, why is Harmony Korine? And there's just a bunch of Reddit threads of people just being like, hey, just watch Good Will Hunting. Why the fuck is Harmony Korine in it? But apparently it was just that him and Gus Van Sant are boys.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Budget
I just
of,
caught it and I was like, yo, what the fuck?
That's crazy. Yeah, I know.
He's only in it for like 2 seconds.
I totally forgot about that scene. Yeah. Budget of $10 million. Box office of Chris.
$258 million.
225. You're really good at this, dude.
Thank you.
Also, another jump scare in the credits. Music by Danny Elfman. And honestly, didn't
have guessed.
Didn't notice.
Never in a million years. I remember looking at the like a scene of like Will Hunting like sitting on a damn park bench looking at the water. I think maybe after Robin Williams left him. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking like, This music really isn't doing much for me. A lot of Elliott Smith in the soundtrack.
Really, Home by 5, Daniel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, laughing on his way to the bank. Used to date Kim Gordon in high school. Fun fact.
That's pretty sick. Didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
I think I read somewhere heard somewhere the other day that he was an Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
And then
what? Oh, sorry.
I think it was Tim Burton who was just like, hey, you want to make music for my movie? And he's like, I don't know if I'd be any good at that.
So what do you remember? Like, was there a point where you're like, okay, I like this movie?
I think it was pretty immediate.
Yeah. How does it start? I'm trying to remember how it starts. I did just watch it today. Full transparency. It starts with Will Hunting, I think, solving the equation, right? Because it starts with class, I think, probably.
Yeah,
I think he solves it in the hallway.
Yeah. It's Skarsgård talking about the equation.
That's a good hook. I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty good.
Oh
hook.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Of like them being like, who the fuck solved this?
I do just adore it later when he solves the second one. He's like, hey, stop doing that. He goes, fuck off. So good. No, that's exactly where it starts.
Yeah. I will say a scene I love when he's at the Harvard bar, and it's very endearing. Ben Affleck scene, in my opinion, because he's like trying to hit on the girls or whatever. Yeah, and he's not really being a dick to the guy who's clearly being a dick to him. Where he's just like, "Oh, what class did you say you had again?" He's like, "History." And he's like, "Oh, it must be a survey class." He's like, "Yeah, it's a survey class. You should check it out." Like, he's just being a guy. He's like, "Oh yeah, I think I remember that class. It was between recess and lunch, or whatever."
Mm-hmm. And I also like. It's just like a very, I don't know, just a very Ben Affleck thing or a very Ben Affleck guy type actor thing to do.
Yeah.
But I do like the kind of vibe that he has when he's talking to those girls at first and he's doing the like, I think I had a class with you, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like they know he's full of shit.
Yeah.
He knows he's full of shit.
Yeah.
And he knows that they know he's full of shit.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of doing this to like start a conversation and then to eventually be like, yeah, I'm just some bitch from Boston. Anyway.
Yeah. They're all on the level. They know what's up.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like a cheeky like thing where like he's kind of doing like a, hey, I'm flirting with you. And they're like, yeah, you are flirting and I'm receptive. Like,
and then Ponytail comes over to fuck it up,
But the whole reason why I took that sidebar, the applesauce bitch sidebar, because we did pause for a minute so I could show him Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season.
Yeah, pretty good.
It's because I do like the I do like that line where he like knocks on the window. That guy, he's like, "Do you like apples?" And he's like, "Yeah, I like apples." It's like, "Well, I got a number. How you like them apples?"
Also, such a dumb burn. Doesn't really try. It doesn't really
no,
work,
but
I still like it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it is not a good burn, but it's got so much just like you know what I'm saying, like that it makes it a good burn. Yeah, like. Do you like apples? How you like them apples?
I think
I don't know.
I think what really makes it work is the window in between the two of them. Mm-hmm. It's the smacking it on the. Yeah. How do you like that? And like him having to yell through the glass. Yeah. That's the best part. Because he's like, it makes him an animal at the zoo that the other guy's looking at. He's like a gorilla going up to the glass, like banging at kids and stuff like that. It's just him going, hey, look at this thing. It's great.
Very Boston. Very Boston. They're very true. They say retard a lot. In this movie.
Really do drop the R word.
They do,
quite frequently.
They do. Yeah. Yada 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 yada.
He starts doing math with math guy.
Yes.
And he gets him out of jail. That's why he's doing math with math guy.
$50,000 bond.
And he has to go see a therapist, so he goes to a rigmarole of therapists who are all like, I can't with this underclassman. And eventually they get to Robin Williams.
Yes.
Who just right off the bat, just teaching at a community college, just funny as fuck. All of his students love him.
Yeah.
And
it's probably my favorite Robin Williams role, personally.
Yeah, it's second to Genie for me, for sure.
Yeah. I like Hook a lot. I'm a Hook fan.
I don't think I've ever seen Hook.
We should watch that.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw it as a kid. Loved it. The Graduate plays plays Captain Hook. Mr. Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's fun.
Yeah. You know the shtick, right?
Yeah, he's old Peter
growing
Pan.
up, and to save his kids, he has to remember how to be a kid again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's good. It'll tug on those little heartstrings a little bit. You got Rufio.
Yeah. They all eat the invisible food. I know that. Yeah.
But specifically, what I love is in the beginning, there's just this really dreamy, surreal quality, which probably has to do with like the fact that like when you're approaching it, I guess as like Steven Spielberg, he's thinking like the Tinkerbell thing, like.
Oh, is Spielberg again?
It's a Spielberg film.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'll probably watch it way sooner now.
But it's nighttime, and I think Tink comes to the house, but they're not home. You don't see Tink, but you get the gist, I think.
Do they call her Tink in the movie, or are you just guys that close that you call her Tink?
We're pretty close.
Okay.
No, but even like the original Peter Pan, they call her Tink.
Oh, I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
Anyways, I'll stop saving time. Tinker Bell.
Okay, thank
you. No, they're out at a play, and I want to say, I could be tripping, but I think his kids are doing like a Peter Pan play, maybe even. But anyways, he's dressed up like they're at the fucking, like it's Moonstruck, and he's taking her to the damn opera.
Okay.
I think, at least as far as I remember. And they like get home, and they can tell that someone has broken in, but obviously Robin Williams isn't thinking it's Tink.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think Grandpa's there, not Grandma. I think it's Grandpa, and he's like kooky, and he's lost his marbles, but he's also spilled marbles. I don't know. It's just dark. The whole thing has like this like I Spy quality to it in my head, of just being like kind of like nocturnal and dreamy, until the kids get kidnapped. You know, but that first section is really my favorite part.
Does
of the film.
he like from Go remember that he's Peter Pan?
Fuck no.
Oh, okay,
absolutely not.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he gets there, and they're like, "You a Peter." Like, what happens actually is one of the kids comes up to him and starts like touching his face and like moving it. It's a very like slow and like intimate scene. And then he smiles a little bit. He's like, "Peter."
I like
see
that.
it in there.
I like that.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Hot take.
Yeah,
I love Steven Spielberg. I think that guy can make a mean motion picture.
Yeah, it depends.
Summer Spielberg. Never stopped.
Technically, yeah.
But yeah, I've just been, because I'm just always watching Indiana Jones. Like, there's a good chance if you like have like a spy cam on me, there's a good chance if you just drop in at any time. If I was a Twitch streamer just streaming my life all the time, you'd probably catch me watching Indiana Jones most of the time.
Yeah, that's funny.
Such a stupid base take, but fucking, oh my god! Every time I watch a Steven Spielberg movie, I'm like, what the fuck was that? Every every movie will have like 2 or 3 scenes where like just the way he moves a camera, I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And it's so like, oh yeah, of course you would do that making a movie, but also at the same time, it's just like, oh yeah, nobody would take a shot from a close up to a wide to a medium to a close up again without cutting. But like, it's so natural that like you just don't notice it, and it's just so good. And I want to watch The Fabelmans again because I forgot I own it.
I just watched the David Lynch scene again.
I did too. That's why I like.
Look at that painting. Where's the horizon? It's at the top. Remember this, kid. If the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. If it's in the middle, it's fucking boring. It's at the bottom, it's interesting. Now get the fuck out of here.
So good. That's such a lovely little like meta thing that I'd like to believe David Lynch is saying, but when someone goes, "Oh, you're about to meet the greatest living director," and then he's played by David Lynch, I'm like, that's pretty nice. That's pretty sick.
It is.
But just a take I heard from just someone on Twitter the other day was just like the genius of The Fabelmans is that it is marketed and everything you see about it makes you think that it's like, oh, this is just some garbage boomer nostalgia again, and then you watch it and you're like, that's the most fuck shit I've ever seen. Yeah.
I just remember all of the clips I was seeing of like cast and crew members being like, yeah, you know, Steven was talking about how like it's like loosely based on his life, and he's like, and then every time we shoot a scene, I'd look over and Steven would be crying, like bawling his eyes out, and I'd be like, Steven, how like much of that happened? He'd be like, all of it.
Yeah, I heard an interview with him where he was just like, yeah, like people kept asking him, like, well, in pre-production leading up to it, like, are you gonna be okay? He's like, oh yeah, no. He's like, I'm fucking 100 years old. I've gotten through all this. Don't worry about it. I'm making a movie about it. He goes, and then just first day on set, I turned around and saw those 2 actors dressed like my parents, and I just fell on my knees and started crying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but the movie we watched,
flowers to Steven Spielberg. Finally, someone's giving them to him.
Yeah, he deserves it. And he did that episode of Columbo.
He did the first episode of Columbo. He meets Robin Williams as his therapist. Can't remember what his character's name is, but Sean. And ends with him choking him, which I love. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, like when it first happened, I was like, okay, but then by the end of the scene, which only lasts for another 30 seconds, I was like, no, that was good. I think that was the right call. Yeah. And yeah, I just from this point on in the movie, everything with him and Robin Williams, which is the movie, is so. It feels so 90s to me, and very like View Askew, very specifically Chasing Amy to me. Yeah. Where it's most of the time two white guys sitting in a room talking to each other.
Yeah.
Or, with Chasing Amy, it's a white guy and his white girlfriend talking to each other.
Yeah.
But one person says something to another person, and it's just like the most simple and obvious thing that you can say to another person. But me specifically, it's like when you watch it, it's just like, oh, fuck, yeah, right. Yeah. And like, again, I feel like everything Robin Williams is like working him through in this movie through therapy. I'm like, that feels like month 1 of therapy. But it feels like they've been doing this for like 6 months at this point.
Yeah.
But still at the same time, it's just one of those things where it's just like, oh, right, yeah. You got to get out of your own way. Okay,
Yeah.
And I just love it. And like, even the "it's not your fault" scene, that's got the Family Guy effect, where I've seen that a million times of just people parodying Good Will Hunting. So it started happening, I was like, oh boy. And then by the end of it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to cry. God. And then they talk about the baseball game. And he's like, yeah. He's got that weird stance. And he just knocks it out there and he goes, yeah. And he's running around and hits the thing.
35,000 people stormed the stands.
Oh my God, what would you do? Did you rush the field? No, I missed it. What do you mean you missed it?
It wasn't at the game.
So good. I
was talking to my future wife.
I got to see about a girl. And they just let you fucking go? Yeah, they saw it in my eyes, man. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I just knew. I knew.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's coming back.
Yeah.
That's coming back somewhere. When he puts a note in his mailbox, I'm like, it's going to say, I got to see about a
girl.
girl.
And then the cherry on top is him going, son of a bitch stole my line.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
so
God,
good. That's
so
what knocks
good.
it out of the park. That's the home run part.
It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
But, oh, my God. And like when they're, and it's so... Again, like with the things that he says to him in therapy, I feel like a lot of like the big emotional beats that happen in this movie, nothing takes me by surprise. Everything is always just like, oh yeah, of course, but also it still guts me.
Yeah.
When she like won't let him leave, and she's like, look at me and tell me that you don't love me, and I'll let you leave. And he goes, I don't love you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
I like this movie so much, Chris. Oh my God.
Yeah, because he's doing that whole thing where he's like, you don't want to know this shit. You don't want this shit. And she's like,
Well,
I do want this shit.
I love that too.
Yeah.
You never get flashbacks about his childhood. He never cries to Robin Williams about what he went through as a child. It's just in that one argument where he's like, no, I got burned with cigarettes and fucking I got stabbed. This isn't surgery. It's just shit like that. It was just like, oh, dude, that's so good.
Yeah.
To just explode out that exposition really big and like...
He's like, what do you want to hear? That I don't have 12 brothers? That I'm an only child? That I was a fucking orphan? You want to know that shit?
Yeah, it's so good. It's really well done. Hats off to those two boys, Affleck and Damon.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah, and also in therapy, I think it was one of the scenes that definitely got me was the, again, as you were saying, I mean, none of it's like super profound stuff that's never been expressed before, but it's just such a, it doesn't have to be because like it feels so genuine by the people like saying the lines. When Will asks him like, now that you're living with all this pain, like, do you regret? Do you like think about like what your life would have been like if you hadn't met your wife, kind of a thing? And Robin goes on that long thing where he's like, no, he's like I cherish every day in the 19 years that I spent with her, or whatever. And he's like, and I wouldn't trade any of the 6 years she was sick, or even the last couple of years when it was really bad, or whatever.
I love that argument with him and the MIT math man.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah, no, I think you're a failure and you fucked up and blah 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 and you gave up. He's like, no, absolutely, fuck off. Like I love that argument between them, but I think it happens a couple times, specifically with Robin Williams. He kind of does this to people, but I love when he comes back the next day and Stellan Skarsgård goes, listen, about yesterday, and Robin Williams just cuts him off and goes, hey man, me too.
Yeah.
He goes, okay, good. I love that. I love that. I love. I can't think of another example, but I feel like Robin Williams does that. His character does that a couple times in this movie, where he just cuts out the apology or cuts out the conversation that they have to have, where he's just like, nope, we're on the same page. Don't worry about it. It's great.
Yeah.
And I also just adore that scene where he's telling about his wife farting in her sleep, because it does very much so feel like Robin Williams improvising that, making Matt Damon laugh. But it's just, again, it's just such an obvious thing. But I do love that, like, those little idiosyncrasies, those edges, those things that like we want to hide from people. That's what it is. That's what you remember. Yeah, that's you're letting people into your little world, and that's what love is. It's like, oh, fuck off, you guys.
Yeah.
Can't believe you didn't make it work at J-Lo.
Yeah. It's
Have you seen that video of him like opening the car door for her?
No.
It's like, a video from some paparazzi from like a couple months ago, like before they're about to get divorced. Just some catching on being like, oh, dude, he's so fucking done with her. It's just like they're walking. He's got a coffee in his hand. He's just walking like kind of like an angry teenager that's like pissed off. He has to be walking. Like his arms are just kind of slacking behind him. And he's like, like got that look on his face the whole time. He opens the car door for her and she gets in and he just kind of like throws it away, the car door, and slams it and then gets on the other side. Like, that's so fucking good, man.
So many very funny pictures of him smoking cigarettes.
I love it.
But yeah. I mean, it'll tug on your heartstrings, and I think we mentioned it before. I think often about we were talking because it made my top 100 list. I think we both think about the top 100 list often. Mm-hmm. There's so many great films I've seen since making that list that the list would maybe be somewhat unrecognizable.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that quite frequently too.
But one of the things that I remember saying about Good Will Hunting is that like the thing that's most interesting to me is that it was such a big success, an award-winning film about like a guy going to therapy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's about a guy like actually addressing his emotions and like learning how to like communicate more effectively with other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a very admirable thing. I don't know. Like I can't think of another example of a film that's just about a man learning how to deal with his emotions properly instead of,
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that that's what it is. But again, just to harp on a point we made earlier, it's like they dedicate no time to his quote unquote backstory.
Yeah.
It's just like, very cut and dry. Like, hey, this is what you're fucking dealing with in like a ambiguous enough way where it's just like you as the viewer can be like, oh yeah, I can see where that would come from in me specifically, or I mean, maybe you don't. Maybe I'm just self-reporting here, but still at the same time, it's just like, oh no, dude, you just have abandonment issues.
Yeah,
we don't really need to go into how you were abandoned or see your fucked up childhood. It's just like you very clearly have abandonment issues, and you're afraid of getting attached to people.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, like the relationship between like him and wasting his potential, and then other people coming down on him to try to make him not waste his potential, and then the things that people want him to do. And like the core problem, the movie does a really good job, in my opinion, of like making it clear that like all of this is happening because Will Hunting doesn't know what he wants.
Yeah.
If Will Hunting knew what he wants, then like none of this would be a problem. That's like the core problem. One of the core problems with Will Hunting is he doesn't know what he wants. And
I love that the tightrope that Sean is trying to walk the whole movie.
Yeah.
That he's like trying to get through to Math Man.
Yeah.
That like he doesn't really understand, or that he tries to talk to Will about here and there. It's like, listen, man, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You don't have.
He says to him at one point, it's really sweet. He says like, as long as you follow your heart, you'll be all right, or whatever. Which is, it reminds me of, I think it's a Hemingway quote, I want to say, where he was talking about how he's like, the problem with people is that they're always thinking like 4 or 5 steps ahead. And he was just saying like, if you could think about just what your next step is, if you could just stay in that place, you're always going to be fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's
a good movie.
I adore the you don't have to go do math stuff with Math Guy, but dude, you can't be fucking mopping floors.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with mopping floors, but dude, you can't be mopping floors.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, Ben does a good job of saying that at the end or whatever, that thing of like, I think it ties into people wanting things for him. But he gets to be the opposite of Math Man in the sense that Math Man is doing it out of selfish wants. He wants Will Hunting to bring him fame and fortune. Ben Affleck wants the same thing that Math Man wants, but he wants it out of like, hey, you're my best friend, and if I see you breaking bricks with me 20 years from now, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like he says that thing of like, where like, like I think Will Hunting says something to him like where he's basically like, don't give me that crap about I owe it to myself. He's like, owe it to yourself. He's like, motherfucker, you owe it to me and all these fucking gorilla retards. Like, you have the lottery ticket that we all want. Get the fuck out of here or I will murder you.
Yeah, it's so And I also, I feel like it's kind of tough for me personally to get like a read on Math Man too, because like, yeah, you're right. It is. He's doing it for selfish reasons, but also at the same time, it's like, I don't know. There's a few things he says to him where it doesn't feel like, hey, if I put you out here, I'm the guy that discovered you. It's very
no, I don't think it's totally selfish. Yeah. I think maybe to say that he just wants fame is a bad way to put it, but I think he genuinely does want the field of math to be bettered, and it's one of those things where he's like, here is like this is like as he says it to Good Will Hunting at one point. He's like, you're right, I can't solve this proof. Only a few people in the world can even tell the difference between me and you. I'm one of those few people. Like, I can't let you just not do something with this.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the scene.
It's a little more pure than what I'm making.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. Yeah, where he's on his knees, and he's just like, yeah, only a few people would know that I did this wrong, and you're one of them.
Yeah.
And I really wish I never met you, because the fact that you're just walking around with all of this, and you want nothing to do with it, I just can't live with it.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And it's so funny because it's like there's so many silly things like that where it's like man is on his knees and he's also on his knees.
Yeah.
But it works. It's great.
Yeah.
Like when Skarsgård's just on the floor, like holding that piece of paper, he's so pathetic down
and
there.
His stupid little glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, why he's got that scarf on the whole movie? You're in a bar, dude. Take off the scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, we didn't get into any of the problems we had with this movie because I kind of really don't want to.
No.
Like I said, I'm sorry. I got to go see About a Girl. Son of a bitch stole my line. The rest of the movie doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, my only problem really is just that, like, him being super smart is sometimes super corny in the first half. But then by the second half, when things start getting really emotional, it's like, I don't care about it anymore. You know, it's just like kind of that first half that I cringed through a little bit personally. But
is girlfriend would you categorize her as a manic pixie dream girl?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Every time I see a date in a movie and there's like a very cute moment where I'm like, I like that a lot, I have to stop and go, wait, do I like this because it's a manic pixie dream girl thing? I just again, another scene that I really like is when they're like at the diner together. She's like, because I know you're hoping to get, a good night kiss. He's like, no, if I'm being honest, I was hoping for a good night lay, but I'd settle for a good night kiss. Yeah. And they're laughing, and she goes, well, let's just get out of the way right now. I'm like, that's so cute. That's so cute.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. So, yeah, I give it an A+. I'm
going to give it a hard A.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then next week is a the penultimate Saw.
Oh, my God. Spiral.
Yeah.
From the Book of Saw.
Right.
Starring Chris Rock and James Bond and the Man Who Fell from Earth.
Is it another Roger Moore?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh, God. I texted you about that Foot the Bill, right? The series that tallies up the cost of all the saw traps and shit.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Yeah, I've watched all of the ones up until where we're at. And he doesn't count like, oh, this building probably costs rent or something. He just purely what's on screen, counts up what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? And hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, so we're watching For Your Eyes Only next week, James Bond wise.
Okay.
It's the first one in the 80s.
Okay.
But we got 3 more Roger Moores to go.
Oof.
For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, and A View to a Kill. And A View to a Kill, I hear, is like one of the worst movies ever made.
Interesting. Watch.
But after that, we'll probably be balls deep in Chucky, so we won't have to worry about it for a while.
Yeah, we're about to be balls deep in Chucky. So basically, this episode was supposed to go up yesterday, but I was traveling, so it won't.
Chris and I were out of town for Labor Day, and we went spelunking. We went spelunking, got trapped under a big rock, stuck there for a couple days.
127 hours specifically.
Yeah.
Then next week, nothing. 16th, we'll do a Spiral, and we'll do The Man from U.N.C.L.E. What was the name of the thing?
For Your Uncle Only.
For Your Uncle Only. Then the 23rd, nothing. Then the 30th will probably be the last Saw one, which will technically be the first week of October, but I think we only need the back 4 weeks. So 4 weeks. Let me see real quick. How many Chuckies are there? 7 or 8? But then here's the other thing.
Yes.
There's a new Saw coming out like this fall.
Really?
Yeah, Saw 11.
I mean...
So we're going to have to see that thing in theater, I think.
Yeah, but we got it at a nice solid 10 right now.
Wait, no. No. It's coming out next fall, thank God.
Thank God. Let's stop doing this podcast before
that. So anyways, yeah. You know, that's that, Mattress Man.
Okay.
If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com.